One of the great things about Handel is that he's such a fascinating human being, and he's writing music about human beings. I feel always with Bach that he's writing about heaven in one way or another, and he's usually writing about human beings as objects of guilt. There's a lot of sin in Bach. A lot of it, of course, is also very joyous in the B minor Mass and so on, but the great thing in Handel is he's writing about people that we could know. Now, okay, they're called Cleopatra or the King of Bithynia or the Queen of this and that, but look through that and it's your mother-in-law, it's your sister. They're people who've had these situations of love and loss, of the heights of happiness and the depths of despair, and they choose to sing about it. And those are human emotions that we've all had. We don't have to be royal. None of us that I know actually are. And so once you look through that, you get through to Cleopatra's soul, for example, to see how she feels. And then that strikes a chord within us. And Handel is one of the most direct composers to do that. It's very useful for us who speak in the Anglophone world, because for so much of it is in English, and therefore it's directly comprehensible for us. The Italians feel the same way about Handel's Italian operas. Of course, it's very unremote in that sense. One's apt to think that these guys who wore wigs aren't like us, but in fact they were. And the great thing, I lived in London for many years, and pretty obvious by my accent where I come from, and it's great to go to Handel's house, which is now a museum in London. You can actually go into the room where he ate, where he gave his concerts. You can go to the room where he wrote Messiah, and you can go upstairs to the room where he died. And I've been very sneakily allowed to go to the cellar where he kept his wine, which is under the street and is huge. Handel liked his food. He was a big tubby guy, and he had a very extensive wine cellar down there. He was a gourmand, I think one could say. No, he was a pig, actually. There's even a cartoon of him as a pig, sitting on a wine barrel playing the organ with a big flat snout and a wig, with his dinner menu coming out of his pocket. And it's a dozen of everything. And he was once caught out by dinner guests because he was serving a dinner with not very good wine. And he said, "I have an idea for composing." And he went into the back room, not to compose, but to eat the dinner all over again, but with a better bottle of wine that he wanted to keep for himself. But he was found out because somebody could see through the window what he was doing. And they all came in, and the person who found out did the cartoon of Handel as a pig. So, and I think probably Handel found it very funny. He could be very amusing when he wanted to be. Some of the time he was a very dark, perhaps a bit of a manic-depressive type. He certainly seems to have worked all night. Not surprising that many composers went blind in the 18th century, of whom Handel and Bach are the two most prominent. And they both got terrible cataracts, and they were both actually finally blinded by the same eye doctor, called Dr. Taylor. But Handel and Bach never met, except through this doctor who ruined their lives. A completely unsuccessful ophthalmologist. But Handel spent the last 7 or 8 years of his life completely blind. And I think still composing. He would write things by dictating, and he had an amanuensis who would write it all down for him. But he died quite old for the 18th century. He was 74. And most people were dead by the time they were 50 in the 18th century. And if it wasn't the drink, it was the lead in the pipes, or gout, or all those myriads of diseases that nowadays you can take antibiotics for. Most people didn't survive, especially in cities that were just full of rats and disease and stuff. So it's no surprise that people like Pergolesi were dead by the age of 26. It's Handel and the French composer Rameau who lived. Rameau lived till he was 81 and Handel till he was 74, which was a good age.